My name is Oliver James. I'm predominantly a breath worker, but I also do body-led psychotherapy, Pilates, and a type of healing called theta healing.
And how did this all begin?
So I don't think I ever thought that I would be doing this path, working this path that I'm on. Back in my teens, I did a lot of horse riding and I fell off a lot and I think I got a few injuries. And then in my 20s, it felt like the injuries came back. First it was my knee, then my back, shoulder, neck. Literally from the age of about 23 to 28, my life just seemed to collapse into pain and I became a narcotics addict, having lots of different cocktails of medication just to clear myself of pain. And I was on the NHS system as well, that's the British health system, and what I found on that was they actually were very helpful trying to give me different types of medication that would help, lots of physiotherapy, I had some surgery done and a chiropractor, but in the end none of that seemed to make any difference. So a surgeon one day said to me, "We've done everything we can do, we're going to sign you off the NHS even though you're in more pain now than when you came onto the system, and it's not that we can't help you, it's that whatever it is that we do, we're not set up to be able to help you because we think the problem is psychosomatic," which means my head and the way that my mind was thinking was creating the pain, perhaps to protect me from some past trauma, and in my head I thought it was horse riding that had caused it. Round about a year after that, I weaned myself off medication and I made the decision to try every modality that could help with pain that there was. So probably about 50 different practices later, I found 3 in particular that were very helpful for me. And one was Pilates, the second was Alexander Technique, and the third was something called Dan Yoga. It's from Korea. Not really very yoga in terms of what most people know about yoga, but it's a form of active meditation, lots of body patting, screaming, shouting, kicking, and expressing self. So those 3 really cleared a lot of something. I wasn't sure what it was at that time. And then I worked out that the industry I was in originally, which was marketing, I moved into mental health, and in the mental health field, again, I really noticed it was a real sort of symbol of what was going on in my own life. The medical system was really encouraging and dominating with medication again. So that's what I was doing. I was supporting people to take their medication, make sure that they were well, looking after themselves, not hurting anyone, hurting each other, and it got to the point my back was falling apart, the system that I was used to was falling apart, and I made the decision to clear myself of everything, handed my notice in, and started training as a Pilates teacher. And then, in many respects, that was just the beginning of the journey, because my pain still wasn't better, but I knew now how to manage it. I knew movement was very helpful. Breathing was also very helpful for me, and it was another Pilates teacher said to me, "So we've gone as far as we can go." Pilates has different levels from intermediate to advanced. I'd got to intermediate and my body just wouldn't go to the advanced repertoire, and the teacher said, "We've gone as far as you can go, and to go any further you're going to need to get some psychotherapy." And I was a little bit shocked about that. I didn't really understand what she meant. And then whatever she said resonated with what the surgeon said, which was the way that I'm thinking is causing me the problems. So go and get some therapy, see what my subconscious is, what's going on inside, see how that can help me in my life. And I went for my first session with something called Core Energetics. That is it's a mind, body and spirit psychotherapy. It has a spiritual component to support people with connection to themselves, to others, to the faith, whatever it is that they believe in. It has a space for that. And in my first session, I remember going in with a neck problem. That was the issue of at that time. And the therapist just gave me some breathing exercises and some quite random ones with the hand behind the back and lifted up and exhaling back down. And at the time, having done a lot of different therapies, I thought this was slightly weird, but I'll just go ahead with it anyway. I'd cleared a lot of judgment from what I thought I should or shouldn't be doing. Just do what the person said. And within minutes, my body started shaking. I was crying, I was laughing, and I had no idea what was going on. And so through the tears and through my laughter, I looked at the therapist and I was like, "What have you done? Like, I am out of control here." And she said, "Can I offer you some support?" And I froze. And then suddenly all these flashbacks came from childhood around how difficult it was for me to receive support. It felt dangerous in many respects. And again, my body was kind of convulsing, and I was laughing because the sound that was coming out didn't sound like a 28-year-old. It sounded like a 3-year-old. The cry was very high-pitched and very embarrassing. But at the end of that session, I remember just feeling completely, my whole nervous system was completely calm. And my neck was free, more free than it had been for as long as I could remember. And I knew at that moment that I remember saying thank you to the therapist, and where do I sign up to do this therapy. And unfortunately the school was in Holland. There isn't a school in this country. In fact, there is just one started in London, but it was in Holland at the time. So for about 4 years I would commute to Holland 5-6 times a year and trained in that. And it was there that breathwork was huge. It was all about observing the physicality of someone and how their subconscious, their life story could be written in someone's body, and you can be taught to read it. And as you take this person in front of you, you can see traumas, relationships with family, relationships with themselves, confidence, lack of confidence, anything from the fat that's on their body, where it is, muscle overdevelopment, underdevelopment, the eyes, the face structure, everything gives a story about what's going on inside. And so these body-led psychotherapists, there are many all around the world, they spent a lot of time with me and with everyone in my group just undoing my history, basically. And it was all breath and movement, and was the most painful journey. And I smile as I say that, which is interesting. Most painful, but also the most fulfilling. I think if you speak to anyone on those sorts of courses, there are times where we wonder why we opened up the Pandora's box. And then once it's open, and it's, I don't know, maybe sometimes it took about a few days after a particularly challenging process. That's what they're called, processes, in terms of clearing history, clearing trauma. After about 3 or 4 days, the feeling afterwards was incredible. So quite addictive as well. And pleased to be on the journey, and surprised to be here as well. As I said, I came from marketing, from a business background, so I wasn't expected to be here.
So you said it physically helped you massively, but mentally, and as in kind of your point of view and how you thought,
right?
How did it change that?
It's more difficult to talk about. The easiest. So I'm writing a book at the moment, a book about breath, and the easiest description would be to explain it in terms of something else. And something I tell a lot of clients is, I see consciousness, the consciousness that I have, that other people have, being very much like a conductor on a train driving, and that conductor gets in the train and drives off, and there are the tracks, and and I really knew where I was going. Everything was just there in front of me. I would stop, start, go backwards, go forwards. It was just so clear. And the journey that I've been on made me realize I was driving this train, but suddenly there were tracks going off to the left, tracks going off to the right, and I could decide whether to go left or right. And when I did that, suddenly the track that I thought I was on was different, the scenery was different, nothing was as I remembered, so there's a lot of times very scary. I could get very ungrounded, sort of living life, thinking completely differently. And then at another point I realized that there weren't really tracks at all. The way that I think and the way that I have been living is in some way, what I would use is programmed, that I was taught from the youngest age, and I think we all are in many respects, that this is good, this is bad, do this, don't do this, and in many respects that works to a level in terms of it keeps things moving somehow. But the moment, say for myself, my body wasn't working, whatever I was thinking and however I was reacting to my environment wasn't working anymore. And I'm clearer now from a spiritual perspective what that was about. But for a number of us, things suddenly just become unclear or confusing, or the tracks just disappear and we don't know what to do. So the work that I've done, the breath work, the body psychotherapy, even Pilates, it's all about learning to firstly control, like what do I have control of, what do I not have control of. Those two are very important aspects. And then secondly, surrender, what can I let go of that I don't need to hold on to. And I think that was a big thing for me. In psychotherapy I have what's called a character defense. That's a part of me that interacts with the world almost like a mask, I guess, but one that I didn't know I had. But what that was about was that I would decide when someone said something, I knew what they meant, I understood what I was doing, I had all the answers, and then I began realizing that I didn't, that what everyone was saying to me I was interpreting, and I was only interpreting based on what I had been told. And suddenly all this work that I was doing, particularly the breath work, I entered what I call a blackness, or a darkness, and that's not a negative thing. It's more like going out into the night and not being able to see. Everything that I knew was had changed, or I was required to activate different senses, different abilities in this darkness, and suddenly everything changes. Not that my life is necessarily any different. I still enjoy the same things, same foods. I guess my friend network has changed a little bit. My motivations have definitely changed. But the world just shifts just a few degrees off to one side, and colors are brighter or darker. I feel clearer around what is mine to be dealing with, what is not, what is someone else's. I became very aware that interactions with people, that we both come with our own, in therapy it's called transference, that when I come and meet you or I come and meet anyone, I come with my own history, and depending on how this conversation goes, if I like what you say, then we're going to get along very well. If you like what I say, then this works. But the moment that we both say something different, does that mean that we don't get along, or do we have different templates that we work from? And to understand that and unwind that has been very helpful. So suddenly everything has the capacity to be very different. I can realize when I'm pissed off, when I'm angry about something. We were talking about that this morning. That I notice it, and then I have a moment of time to observe and just work out, okay, this is a part of me, which part is it? And that's fine, maybe I'm going to be pissed off today. That's okay to be angry, but just to be clearer why I'm doing it. And does this, if it's towards someone or something, is it this that I'm actually angry at? Or has something happened in the last week, month, even when I was young, that may contribute to what is causing me this chaos or confusion at this time.
Going back to you saying about programming and kind of from a young age you're told what's right and what's wrong.
Yeah.
Obviously, so many people are living in that world where they do that and they aren't really considering these other areas of life that could benefit them and help them. And what are your views on that? How important do you think it is to explore these alternative?
Yeah. Okay, so I think what I'm about to say might sound a little bit futurist, maybe a little bit shocking. And I don't say it to be shocking. My experience of reality, as it were, and by reality I mean just the world that we live in, the governments, the schooling system, the parents that we have, all of it. In many respects, my understanding prior to this moment, or over the last few years, was that everyone was my friend, or they wanted me to do well. That the school systems are set up to teach me something that I can use, and when I learn it, I can use it at work, and that I'm getting better, I'm getting more knowledgeable, and in many respects I was. The difficulty was, having left school, and I did university and all these different things, what I was taught had bearings on maybe 50-60% of work, and so the other sort of 40% of it was more around relationships. How well do I get on with someone? And what's my communication, dealing with stress and anxiety and things like that. And then when I had my own issue, I suddenly realized this health system that's there to support me couldn't actually support me, and where I thought there was something seriously wrong with me, and one of the most experienced and best health systems in the world said to me, we can't help you. I was faced with this moment of thinking, am I unhelpable, or what? And like I said, it took about 6 months to a year to work out that I had to take back my own healing journey. And I think a lot of the way, particularly this society in the UK works, it says, come to us if you have a problem, come to us if you have a problem. And so people are going, and they're going to doctors, they're going to teachers and all these people, and the information they're giving isn't wrong, it's just set within a box that they know that works for them. And I've really worked out that it really is a box, and I can see parts of it on the outside. I don't mean that I have all the answers, but I just know that people have what they know. And so when I meet people now, particularly in therapy sessions, I'm just interested in what do they know and what do they think is happening. Then I can spot where some of the armors, the defense, the programming that I was talking about comes in. Now, at the age that I am, so I'm in my late 30s, the school system, every system that I was in, I began seeing flaws in it. And those are flaws that have been there for a very long time. And what I'm noticing now is the flaws are getting bigger because society's changing. We're too global. We're getting too many cultures coming in of different thoughts, beliefs, and everything, and that's brilliant. But when people aren't set up to be able to handle so much change and so much difference, so there's conflict happening, and it's something we need to go through. But in the process of that, with particularly development of technology, we're getting all this artificial intelligence that's coming in, different machinery